As a final question, which leads us on actually quite nicely from what we just spoke about, the talk you're taking part in this afternoon is about playing or learning. Why does the language we use around that matter? Why is it important?
Yeah, so it's probably my most contentious and maverick view in the community. But yeah, it's not about the concept of play, which obviously I agree with, but it's about the way we describe it and frame it, partly to ourselves, but particularly how we then represent that to the wider community. So I think the word play is contested and confused. I think it's often used quite incoherently. There isn't a clear definition. But what we are clear about is that when children are engaged in activity, it's very serious, and it's very intense, and it's very significant. So I absolutely understand the attachment to the word play, because it feeds into children's rights, it feeds into our whole history as a community. But I do think we need to be brave enough to say, is it the right word to describe what children do? Because the word play, the definition of the word play is something trivial or something for a leisure purpose. Young children's lives are not trivial, and what they do is not trivial. You watch children in self-led situations, it's very intense, it's very significant. And actually, the Maria Montessori, one of the pioneers of early education, agreed with me, or I agree with her, because she said at the time she was writing, and she was way ahead of her time. If you read anything that she wrote at the turn of the last century, she was way ahead of thinking. There was this whole distinction between play and work. And schools or education at the time was quite formal, quite didactic, quite instructional. And so the word work implied a very formalised type of learning. So the word play emerged as the alternative to that, or as part of the spectrum of behaviours within that, very much like it is today. But what she then said is we need to acknowledge that play is a child's work. Their work is when they play. Now, people often quote that bit. What they don't then say is, she went on to say, which is why we shouldn't call it play, we should call it work. So she advocated that children did their work when they self-led their own activities. But she was very clear on calling it work because she felt, like I do, the word play trivialises it. Now, that's not what people intend, but certainly from an outside point of view, that's often what the perception can be. And one of the things I'm going to say in this, and I'll leave this as just a thought. So we've talked about the profile and the perception of early education and how we want that needle, as you said, that needle to move. We want to be taken more seriously. We want to be valued. We want to be understood. We want people to understand both the importance of early years, but also why we do things the way we do things. What if, and swim with me on this for a bit, what if, just by not using the word play, it changed the perception of early years by itself? If we didn't use the word play, if we had a different lexicon of describing that, it changed how people perceived us and it raised our status. It did move that needle along. Wouldn't that be worth doing?